In today's video, we're going to see some really intense reactions from convicted killers when they found out they're getting life sentences in court. It's going to be pretty wild, so let's jump right into the first case and see what happened. Jeremy Christian was found guilty of killing people in the MAX train, got taken out of the courtroom because he caused a disturbance during his sentencing hearing. Jeremy's court session began with Jeremy causing trouble. He made a disturbance remark to one of the people to be heard, saying he wished he had killed her. The deputies quickly removed him from the courtroom. Christian was 35 at the time of his crimes. He's now 38. Jeremy received his punishment for killing 2 people on a MAX train in May 2017 and trying to kill another person along with other crimes against different people. Christian got very upset when a woman who he had accidentally hit in the face with a half-full Gatorade bottle causing a serious eye injury, called him a bad person and said he was a big problem for society. "You're a waste of breath," said victim Dimitri Hester. "When you die and go to hell, I hope you rot." Christian responded, "See you there." He shouted names at Hester, called her liar and exclaimed, "I should have killed you." At one point, Christian also yelled George Floyd. Christian got in trouble for using his knife unlawfully and scaring a commuter named Sean Ford. He pointed his knife at Sean after getting off the train. Christian ran away, but he was caught by the police about a mile where he was. Some passengers helped the police find him by following him and telling him where he was. Christian was declared guilty of committing a hate crime, second-degree assault, and other offensive crimes against Hester. Hester was hurt in the eye by Christian, who targeted her with hateful words. Let's go on with the next Courtroom case. Lewis is accused of killing a police officer and laughed loudly and made threats to harm more officers. During the trial for the killing of 2 deputies in Northern California, a suspect got taken out of the courtroom for a short time. His name is Luis Bracamontes. He started yelling rude and scary things in both English and Spanish right after the trial's second day started. "I'm going to kill one of you," Bracamontes screamed in court as the jury was escorted out of the courtroom. Luis and his wife Janelle Monroy, who is 41 years old, are accused of causing the death of 2 sheriffs, Deputy Danny Oliver from Sacramento County and Deputy Michael Davis from Placer County. This incident happened back in 2014. "I killed cops, they're dead. I don't regret that," he said. Investigators found that Lewis and his wife were involved in a chase on October 2014. It started in Sacramento's Arden area and went through Placer County until stopped in Auburn. During the time, they killed Oliver and Davis. Another person was also shot, and Lewis took cars from several people by force, according to investigators. What a shocking crime and reaction we see here. Write your thoughts down below so we can discuss it together. In 2017, James McEnroe shot and killed 6 people from his girlfriend's family in Washington. This included 2 young children. A jury in Seattle decided not to give him the death penalty, but instead he will spend the rest of his life in prison without any chance of getting out. McEnroe was found guilty in March for murdering his girlfriend's parents, her brother, his sister-in-law, and their 2 young kids. The lawyer who wanted McEnroe to be punished with the death said he should pay for what he did. But McEnroe's own lawyers said he wasn't thinking right because he was mentally ill. The group of people declined his punishment and couldn't all agree if he should be sentenced to death. So instead they decided he should spend the rest of his life in prison. McEnroe's ex-girlfriend Michelle Anderson is also involved in the same crime, is waiting for a trial. Those who say she did it admit she was part of the murders that happened in a town near Seattle. In papers from court, it said that McEnroe and his ex had guns when they had visited Anderson's parents, Judy and Wayne Anderson, on Christmas Eve. Sadly, McEnroe shot and killed them. Michelle Anderson is said to have shot her brother, Scott Anderson, and his wife Erica Anderson multiple times, hurting them. Then McEnroe shot and killed them too, along with their 2 young kids, Olivia, who was 5, and Nathan, who was 3, as per the court papers. Pam Mantle, Erica Anderson's mother, told reporters after the verdict that the pain of losing her family is still fresh. He has no respect for anybody. He had no respect for the 2 people that were the kindest to him, which were Wayne and Judy, who took him in, and he shot them and threw them in the backyard, Mantle said. "I have nothing to say about him." What a horrific case we see here. Do you think he should get the death penalty? Comment down below. Next case. A man named Tobias Roman, 27 years old, from Fresno, got arrested. He's accused of trying to steal from a worker at a shop in Bakersfield Valley Plaza. Police say he threatened to harm the 19-year-old woman and showed a knife. When he was brought to court, Roman interrupted Judge Charles Bremer, saying the accusations were not true. The judge told him not to talk out of turn, but Roman told the judge to be quiet instead. As deputies let Roman out of the court, he mumbled something and said, "I'm going to murder you when I see you." The following sad story occurred at a Walmart. A man who was found guilty of shooting his co-workers during an incident at Walmart in 2019 has been given the punishment of death. Lawrence Abram was found guilty of 2 serious crimes, capital murder and attempted murder. This happened because of a shooting at a Walmart store in July in 2019. 2 Walmart workers lost their lives and a police officer from South Haven got hurt. The lawyers who represent the government asked the jury to decide that Abram should be given the death penalty. This means everyone in the jury has to agree. On the other side, Abram's defense lawyers asked the jury to give him a different punishment, life in prison with no chance of ever getting out. They said Abram was going through a tough time mentally when the shooting happened. Despite this, the jury decided to give Abram the death penalty. The jury thought about Abram's case for about 50 minutes before deciding he was guilty. Then they talked for nearly 3 hours what his punishment should be. They all agreed to give him the death penalty for killing Anthony Brown, who was 40, and Brandon Gales, who was 37. Do you agree with the jury's decision here? Attorney Robert Morris said after the jury, "I do think the heavier issue was whether or not to apply the death penalty. So I'm actually glad that they took so long to feel like justice was done. Was it the right result? Abram is going to be one of the 36 people on Mississippi's death row. Before this, he worked at Walmart for nearly 20 years. A spokesperson from Walmart said this. Before the shooting on July 30, Abram didn't have any history of breaking the law. His lawyer John Keith Perry mentioned this as a reason why Abram shouldn't get the death penalty. Monique Abram, who's Abram's younger sister, talked at the sentencing hearing to support her brother. She shared how he started distancing himself from the family so much that once, when she tried to walk to him at Walmart, he didn't even say hello to her. Monique Abram mentioned that her brother had changed a lot from how he used to be when they were grown up. She said, "He's not the same brother I grew up with. He's not the brother our parents raised." We go on with the man who was blamed for the death of 2 people on November 18 confessed to committing these crimes. Keith Ferguson was really angry when he agreed to a deal with the court. He admitted to doing one of the very serious crimes of first-degree murder and another crime of second-degree murder. These crimes were about his wife Tiffany Ferguson and his wife's father James Weber. In the deal, the court decided to drop 10 other charges against Ferguson. To make sure the court would agree to Ferguson's plea, he had to talk about what happened during the crime. This meant he had to answer lots of questions about it. But when Ferguson spoke in court, he began shouting rude words and getting angry at the judge and the reporters. Ferguson kept telling the judge, George Mertz, from Kalkaska County Circuit Court, that he didn't want to talk too much about what happened. "Listen, I'm not going to get into the details, alright? I'm guilty, get on with the death sentence and get me out of here. I want my lunch," yelled Ferguson. Ferguson continued to argue with Judge Mertz for several minutes. "Okay, well, I'm not getting into any detail of what happened," said Ferguson. "If you want to be found guilty, then you have to say what you did," said Mertz. The court took a break so Ferguson could relax. After the break, Ferguson talked about what happened that day. Ferguson confessed again to killing Tiffany and Weber. "And did you intend to kill him?" asked Mertz. "Oh yeah," said Ferguson. The court agreed that Ferguson was guilty. When he was leaving, he asked Judge Mertz for the death penalty again, but Mertz refused. Ferguson then said angrily to everyone in the courtroom, "See you all in hell." The Kalkaska County prosecutor, Mike Perot, "I think society has got what it needed from this. I've talked with the family several times, and this is what they wanted too." Ferguson will spend the rest of his life in prison without any chance of getting out. Now we watch Ellen McCarty, who threatened to kill a judge, found guilty. During his trial, Ellen McCarty behaved badly. He shouted, interrupted, and insulted the judge. Had to watch most of the trial from a small room behind one-way glass. Later in the day, the jury, made up of 3 women and 3 men, decided that McCarty was guilty. The jury took about 30 minutes to make their decision. McCarty was found guilty of 2 counts of making threats and extortion and 2 counts of corruption by threatening a public official. Not only did he threaten the judge, but he also threatened 2 dispatchers during phone calls. When they said McCarty was guilty, he didn't say much. He was sitting between some deputies. McCarty might go to jail for up to 40 years. McCarty, who is 36 years old, is in trouble for more than one thing. He's accused of calling the healthcare company, scaring the people who worked there. Even when they moved him to another room earlier that day, McCarty kept yelling bad words. He cursed at the judge, the witness, and the whole legal system. At the courtroom, everyone like Judge Foxman, the lawyers, and the people deciding the case heard McCarty yelling loudly. He was using bad words and complaining that he couldn't show any evidence. He shouted that his most important papers were taken away from him. He also said the lawyer wasn't asking the right questions. Plus, he yelled about the kids being taken away from him unfairly. McCarty was in the county branch jail and was being watched because he might try to hurt himself. Even though people usually wear nice clothes, McCarty stayed in his orange jail uniform. McCarty's morning outburst includes his weird invitation to the judge to perform oral sex on him. Foxman politely declined by saying, "I prefer not to." As McCarty was getting ready to leave the room, he told everyone that he wanted to report Foxman. McCarty said Foxman had scared him by saying he would tape his mouth shut. A mom from Michigan was found guilty last month of hurting a baby girl. Now she's going to jail forever. More than 11 million people have watched the video showing Vasari and her husband Seth Welch's reaction when they were first accused. In the video, Welch looked shocked with his mouth wide open when he found out he might be in prison for life. Vasari cried. The judge in Kent County, Paul Dennefield, decided that Tatiana Vasari was 30 years old and spent her life in prison. No chance of getting out. She's being punished for killing Mary Welch, a 10-month-old daughter. In October, jury in Kent County said Vasari is guilty of first-degree murder and first-degree child abuse. Judge Dennefield gave Vasari a sentence of 15 to 30 years for the child abuse charge. The sentence will happen at the same time as the life sentence. During the trial, Vasari's lawyer said they're going to appeal her case as soon as possible. The couple had 3 children already when Mary was born, but then the 4th child came into the world while Vasari was in jail. Seth Welch was found guilty in January 2020 for murdering Mary and hurting her. He got a life sentence with no chance of ever getting out of prison. Before it was said by Law and Crime that a doctor who examined dead bodies in the county found out that Mary died because she didn't have enough food and water. The lawyers said that the baby hadn't eaten for days and only got a bit heavier since she was born 10 months ago, when she was in trial for a crime. Prosecutors said that the doctor who checked the bodies found out that the child had been dead for at least 3 days before someone called 911. A police officer who went there said Mary's cheeks and eyes looked like they had sunk into her head. Later, when investigators talked to the couple, they apparently said they hadn't noticed their daughter was getting skinny about a month earlier. The police also said Vasari explained they didn't take the child to a doctor because they were scared of Child Protective Services, didn't trust doctors, and had religious reasons against it. This case shocked the whole community. The next court case, a 17-year-old named Michael Swanson was smiling when he went from the county jail to the courthouse for his first appearance. When he asked why he was laughing, Swanson just shook his head and replied, "You guys are hilarious." According to police, Swanson is accused of shooting and killing 2 convenience store workers, Vicky Bauman Hall, aged 47, and Sheila Myers, 61. These incidents happened during robberies in Algona and Humboldt. Police reports suggest that Swanson intentionally shot the woman so they couldn't call the police, identify him. Records from the Minnesota Juvenile Court show that Swanson from St. Louis Park left his home one evening with his mother's debit card and her Jeep. His family informed the police that he drove to their cabin in Big Fork, where he broke in and took a Winchester rifle, along with possible other weapons. At around 10:30 a.m. on that Monday, authorities issued a warning that Swanson was armed and advised people to be on the lookout for him. Attorney Holmes explained that Swanson asked for money and cigarettes from Ricky Bauman Hall, who works as a clerk and is 47 years old. Even though she gave what he wanted, Swanson still shot her. Sadly, Vicky passed away in a nearby hospital. Then about an hour later, Swanson went into a come-and-go store in Humboldt, which is about 30 miles away from Algona, and shot Sheila Myers, who was 61 years old. Holmes said Sheila didn't survive the shooting and died right there. The whole incident was recorded by security cameras. Michael Swanson received a life sentence for that murder. The following reaction was going around the world. The pizza delivery driver was killed and the father forgave the man who helped cause his son's death. At the sentencing, the father hugged Trey Alexander Ralph, who cried. The father explained that he did it because of his Islamic beliefs. Back in April 2015, Jitmund was doing his final delivery for the night as a delivery driver. Sadly, someone attacked him, stabbing him to death and stealing from him. This terrible incident happened in an apartment area in Lexington. People later found his body in the breezeway of the apartment complex. According to the news, out of 3 people involved in the crime, only Ralph got charged by a grand jury. They said Ralph was the only one who planned the robbery, but he denied being the person who killed Chipmunk. Ralph admitted guilt to complicity in murder, complicity in robbery, and trying to tamper with evidence related to Chipmunk's stabbing. As a result, he received 31 years prison sentence. After the sentencing, the victim's father said he whispered into Ralph's ear to do good deeds when he gets out of prison, and that he has confidence that God is forgiving. Next, after being found guilty of murder, a man was given a life sentence in prison, and then following happened. He had a hard time accepting the verdict and got into a physical fight with the deputies. The murder trial of Adrian Dunn, a former convict, ended with a quick fight involving deputies and a lot of swearing. Charles, who was 24 years old, got shot in the back at a parking lot in the apartment complex. Prosecutors said it happened during a drug deal. When the closing arguments were made, prosecutors said Dunn's past crimes meant he should get a life sentence. Dunn's lawyer argued that a prison term of 35 to 40 years would be more fitting. He said it would give Adrian a chance to improve himself while in prison. However, the jury took about 2 hours to decide, and they sentenced Adrian to life in prison. Which courtroom moment do you think was the craziest one today? If you know court case that could be featured on the channel, please write it in the comments section. Take a second to write your thoughts down below. Please subscribe to our channel. See you in our next courtroom video. Take care.